Hey, everybody. Welcome to a brand new podcast. We're calling it the Playtesters, where we're going to get together with a designer, play test some games. And today we have Ryszard with his game Toot. So we're going to dive into this. Ryszard, if you want to go ahead, and I've got Tabletop Simulator up. If anybody's interested and wants to play test with us, there is a link to get onto the show in Discord, and from there we can get you connected into the game on Tabletop Simulator, assuming you have Tabletop Simulator. But
The subscription to the module isn't necessary. You can just join the right room and we can provide the details if it will be like that.
now, do you need a copy of the game? No, you don't, right?
No, if you join the room, just like you, Hisi, did before we started our video, join the right server, put in the right password, up to 10 people can be within our game room with us, and they do not have to subscribe to the module. They just will load up everything that they need from by joining the room.
So the only question I have is, do you have to have paid for a copy of the Tabletop Simulator software?
Unfortunately, yes. So
Okay.
if you do not have Tabletop Simulator, unfortunately, right now at this very moment, you have no way of interacting directly with the colorful bits in the game. I'm sorry.
No. Hey, we just need to make sure that people understand if they want to get involved. Um, you need to have Tabletop Simulator. Two, if you have a game and you want us to play test one of your games, I'll put a link in the show description for Discord, and I'll put one here in this in just a second into chat. Um, and get involved with our community. Let us see what you're doing, and we can schedule something. We want to play test people's games because one of the things that I hear a lot of, and you hear this with most designers, is finding play testers can be difficult. And so we want to leverage this technology of using Tabletop Simulator within our community of designers because we all need play testers. So we're going to play test each other's games, but we're more than welcome. We're more than willing. At least I am. I won't speak for everybody to play test your game as well. But you got to get involved. You got to let us know who you are. Get on Discord. Share your thoughts with your game, and then we can get some time to get your game tested as well.
And I
So,
want to propose something as well, if I may. Because we start today with Tabletop Simulator, but if someone is, I would propose that let's not make it just about Tabletop Simulator. Because
okay.
if there is if you do not want or do not have Tabletop Simulator, you don't have to have it. It's just a tool, one of the many that we have. But if you want to playtest this online, I mean, what would be necessary is to somehow rig the camera or maybe the cell phone, so the components, the physical components, can be visible through the our session, I suppose.
Yeah. I would prefer Tabletop Simulator, but we'll keep that as an option. The other thing would be Vassal module. So
Yeah.
we could play something through a Vassal module if you've got a hex encounter type of game that you want to play on there as well. But yeah, we'll be open to different formats. It's just a matter of us figuring out how to make it work, and we'll make it work. Awesome.
So let's slowly dive in. What is right now available within the Tabletop Simulator is basically the state of the game as of for yesterday. It's not complete. The basics work, but I have played with solo twice so far, and I mean I know already that some things will need to be changed. So usually, or maybe in ideal world, this is not the situation where the designer shows the game to the public, mostly because I know very well that there are certain procedures that I haven't resolved how to exactly make them happen. And when we will be going through the motions of certain procedures, you will probably spot some holes in the system.
Hey, Richard, before you get too deep, why don't you give us an intro of what the game is about and kind of the what you're trying to accomplish with your unique theme? Because I think it's
So
cool.
yes, and the game titled Toot is really a game about tactical battles in ancient Greece fought between two opposite or opponent hostile armies. They consist of hoplites, peltasts, and cavalry, so heavy infantry, light infantry, cavalry, and your goal is really to eliminate your enemy or to remove him, make him run away from the board. This is basically a tactical system, but it's being resolved on the grid map, so no hexagons. There are just areas that arbitrarily divide the playing field, the battlefield, into 4 by 4 squares. And what makes this game slightly different or unique, the thing that the game offers, I want to make it about command and control. That is, we are not controlling directly our units. We can put them in separate modes like move, like attack, but sometimes switching those modes whenever it's convenient for us, it's not going to be easy, it's not going to be automatic, or it will be even forbidden because of certain reasons. Uh, in some games, I don't know how many of our audience are familiar with, I don't know, tabletop games, hex encounter games where we have armies on hexes. In some games you have full control over your units. You can decide that this unit is looking this way, this unit another unit is facing this way, and you are Wellington fighting the Waterloo, and you can detach a single vedette from this company because this is what you do in this game.
Mhm.
I want to play a game where I'm fighting famous battles of history, but I do not have to worry about a single unit of skirmishers and whether they are facing the right way. So this is my attempt at exactly this. Right now, within this game, there are three different types of armies, and they are divided by colors. So you will see the light blue units, those are Athenians, red are Spartans, and light yellow are Greeks. So basically, three different armies, slightly different, they are not identical. And I want to provide slightly different flavor to all of those. But the game itself is supposed to be sandboxy, or maybe a little close to tabletop miniature experience, where you can basically pick up any army composition that you want, and within some constraints, but it's your choice how you want to make it look, or what kind of units uh, your army consists of, and then you put those units on the map and just see if your army can defeat the opponent or not. Because the game is early in the mm, development, I
Mhm.
just want, in the top left corner of the main table, I provided something that looks like, well, a setup card for the possible scenarios.
Now,
So
how
the
do I
way,
control that?
well, this you do not control because this is just a board showing the
Oh, okay.
single image. So it's not a PDF, because I since yesterday I have prepared only this one scenario. But once again, this game is not necessarily meant to represent the historical battles. It is meant to be a sandboxy. If you want to play battle with, I don't know, 5 hoplites against 6 cavalry units, go for it. It may be just uh, an experience with a specific flavor. But the sandboxy doesn't mean that the game cannot come with the pre-arranged situations or scenarios, and
Uh,
this is just an example how this may look like. The setup would tell you which units and in which positions, and then a little bit about the hands and signal deck. So one thing that I didn't mention at all is basically components. So let's go over the components quickly. The large rectangles with gray things, those are units, and your army consists of three of them. The scale is very arbitrary. It's not strict. So one rectangle doesn't necessarily represent a certain number of people. It just represents one unit of hoplites, and let's leave it at that for now.
okay.
The units, they belong to three different types, and I hope that the icons are clear enough to say that those are Athenians and those are hoplites. The big shield, the smaller shield, light infantry or peltasts, and this little horsey uh, icon image is basically cavalry. But they have more than just a type. The big number is basically a combat strength or the combat value, and the black letter is a morale gauged in a kind of American like system where A is the best and D is the lowest. And the morale provides certain modifiers in certain actions or procedures. And basically if you fight, you want to have a better morale than your opponent. The units can be weakened throughout the game, and this is where they are flipped to this splotchy red side. Right now, the values on the reverse side, they just only the combat strength is different, but morale stays mostly the same. I think that this will change, but for now it is what it is. So those are the units, generally speaking, and the map is grid 11 inches by 11 inches, divided into 16 areas. I mentioned the size because if you are not experienced with Tabletop Simulator, this is my rant about my experience with Tabletop Simulator. TTS is fine thing, but I have a difficulty because within Tabletop Simulator I can rescale things at a fly. I have a really difficult time to gauge the physical size of the components in my game just at a glance. And in Tabletop Simulator, you can measure the size of the components. For example, I will just use one of the functions now. This is the ruler, and I can drag a line and see that this is 32 inches. That's not the actual scale of the game if it will ever get printed. As I've said, the file for the map is 11 inches by 11 inches. I scaled it within the Tabletop Simulator just because I can see things easier on my screen. The size of the counters are a little less, those are rectangles a little less than 1 inch by a little less than half of an inch. So basically, the markers, the square markers, are 0.455 inches. So they can, for example, fit on a half or sort of on a half of the unit. And this is something that I wanted to remark about because we were talking earlier in the podcast. There were discussions about creating the prototype as soon as possible, and it's fine, but I also like to think about the sizes of the components and how
Mhm.
they interact with each other, because for example in my game I want to have strict limit how many units can attack across one edge, and I want to marry this with the idea that you cannot fit fourth unit within the same area to attack across this edge, and this is exactly the limit, of attacking across edge, 3 blocks, 3 units, and it just comes with the idea that I need to keep close track of the physical dimensions of the board and physical dimensions of the counters and how they look like. So this is something that for the maybe for the budding designers will be useful to know. Tabletop simulator is nice, but it may be difficult to keep close tabs on dimensions of your components within tabletop simulator alone. Okay, so those are the sizes of the map and the units, and you will note, because the gem restrictions, or maybe not, suggestions, maybe they mentioned the use of the board 11 by 17, right, Hisi?
Yeah, again, the 55 cards and 11 by 17 was a suggestion given to me by somebody who publishes games. And so in the card jam, if we can get stuff published, I'll see what I can do. But that's why those guidelines were there. But we don't
Mhm.
have to stick to it. I mean, you design your game around your game, and so yeah, I think 11. What you're talking about, 11 by 11 here. That
Yeah, but
that that would be fine because you just have white space if you wanted to fit it on 11 by
so
7.
so this is another point that I wanted to make, because one of the reasons why I agreed to this session today is basically to be able to share my thoughts, I suppose. My thoughts, for example, are that right now the map that I'm using is designed for 11 by 11, but with remaining 6 inches to the side, I can create an additional space for holding the counters, the units, the markers, the cards. So it still will be a gaming space that I can put to the side of the map, and maybe it will just have the name of the game. I don't know, but it all boils down in it all boils down to designing the space and the components, thinking how they can function within the bits.
Right.
Right now, right now, this additional 6 by 11 doesn't exist, so no worries about this. The game contains cards, and they all belong to a single deck that I call signals deck. Basically, during the game, the players will be playing those cards, and those cards enable them to do something. The cards, they are of various kinds. So you have, let me just split this into different different types for a moment. I will stop once I will have all the types that I wanted. Okay, so signals deck, really, the majority of them, they come in 3 colors, and they come with 3 different volume markers, because the game is about controlling the volume markers around the map. This will become a little clearer after, well, later in the session. But the right now I have 27 cards in this basic deck, divided into 3 types: six green, 6 purple or red, let's call it, and 8 orange. 4 cards white, they are called leader cards because they are about adding leaders to the game. And 6 plus 6 plus 8 plus 4 doesn't make for 27, because there are also cards that are that are specific for the nation or the army. So we have a single card for Athenians, Thebans, and Spartans. And the idea is that when you are playing as Spartans, you can play Spartan card to basically for the effect that is written on the card.
Mhm.
And of course, if in a game that we have Spartans and Athenians, we still have a card for Thebans, but it's supposed to be a dead weight. Basically, a card that you can draw but you cannot use. and I think it's fine and it's supposed to provide tension. My future playtesters, I'm sorry, may disagree with this thing. Uh, so those are 27 cards. There are additional cards, 9 cards that belong to unit that are associated with specific unit types. 3 cards for cavalry, 3 cards for hoplite, 3 cards for peltasts. So the idea is that if I would be playing a game, let's say that I'm playing this card and I'm issuing an order with this level of noise in this area. But with the playing this card, I can issue an order to all the hoplites within this area.
Okay.
Or I can play this text for the effect for hoplites within a single area. So so it's supposed to provide some additional flavor and flexibility if you will find those. And those cards, they are not identical. It's not just 3 copies of the same card. It's actually 2 copies of the same card, and then third card is slightly different.
Okay.
9 unit cards, and then we have something that I call event cards, 4 cards that are not associated with any unit. They just give you some kind of bonus that you can use, and those bonuses or abilities are circumstantial, or maybe they do not necessarily have to happen at all or during the same time in the play sequence.
Mm-hmm.
It's just additional thing that you can have in your thing. So just to
I'm already
show,
impressed with the quality of art that you put on this prototype, dude. It's looking
I
really sharp.
I am afraid that I like nicely looking games, and this means that when I have the opportunity, I spend some time to think, well, trying to make it pretty, or or because art, the beauty is subjective. I think it's pretty.
Oh,
Is
I
it
do too.
is it effective? Whether, for example, those things are functional. This is another thing, and well, the test will show or
Yeah.
convince us.
Yeah, the sound markers make me think that they're going into battle with a boombox.
I li-
I'm
I am
kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
I am passionate. I am passionate about the ancients and ancient Greeks, but obviously in this game we have. I go for anachronistic bits.
Yeah.
So, for example, this is, and I will just clone this for a moment because this wasn't shown on the Discord. So there are tactical games that show that some units are engaged. This is my engaged counter.
I
I
like
mean,
it.
it doesn't have to look like this. Absolutely not. It can be less colorful, for example. But I just find it funny. And
Well, you've got all three colors for the armies within the font. I mean, that's creative, and it's
and
and it's kind of cool looking, and they look like they're going at each other. So no, well done.
hopefully, once again, this will be functional because once again, this is the intended relative size of the counter in relation to the
Okay.
space and the units. And at times I'm wondering that by having such a colorful potpourri, it just becomes hard to read from a distance. Uh, I don't know if this is the case yet, but once
I
again,
wouldn't worry too much about hard to read from a distance. You're dealing with what half-inch square counters. Um, yeah, I don't think people expect from distance that everything's going to be extremely clear. What I see here is readable. Um, you can recognize the pattern of your engaged counter. I don't see anything that is confusing, at least to me as of yet. So, as far as the art, I don't see any issues with anything.
I hope that you will be of the same opinion once we will have more counters and units on the board. Any
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, because that's why we're playtesting, right?
yeah.
So if
By all
I had
means.
an issue with it, or if I thought maybe it wasn't that the colors were off or something, and and not, I'm not going to give you aesthetics per se, other than I think it looks good, but it's
One
a
of the
playtest
reasons
version, so yeah, I'm
one
not
of
going
the
to get hung
reasons
up
why
on
I'm speaking about this aloud is once again because I want to within this podcast, within this recording, I want to show to others all the thoughts that I'm having when I'm all the processes that I'm going through and the decisions that I make when I compose or design counters, for example, or the components. And there is no I I hope that it will be somewhat useful or beneficial to the others, even if their aesthetical choices are different than mine. And I'm not saying that mine are perfect, that this is the ultimate design
it. Yeah,
in
well,
terms in terms of the counters. But I hope that by underlining those potential challenges with coming up with your own components,
uh-huh.
I can bring some mm, 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 interesting points to the discussion about designing at large.
Well, so
So
my first impression is you've got a lot done already. I don't know how long you've been working on this. Um,
less than a week.
yeah, so I'm already impressed with that, my friend. The quality of the graphics, again, and even with this being a prototype, is very clear. I can see what's going on. Um, like I said, I'm looking forward to digging in, to playing it. I'm already seeing some levels of the design, the layers.
Mhm.
Um, it's yeah, the fact that you have three factions, I think gives it some replayability. I think that's kind of cool. Not knowing this time frame well enough, I can imagine there are other factions you could add, even if
Oh,
they are minor allies. I mean
so
that. Go ahead.
yeah, for example, because we are talking about ancient Greece in fifth century BC and a little bit even into fourth century BC, some people can ask, where are the Persians, for example? Well, they are not here just yet, but if the system will prove itself, it's relatively easy to add more types of the units,
Hmm.
more different types of armies just as well, and just have, I don't know, kind of tabletop miniature experience, a system really uh, that can serve the purpose. Anyway, I meant I wanted to underline those cards and those 9 unit cards because once again I will use the word requirement of those 55 cards, but I will just say out loud that I'm using those dimensions for the board and the number of the cards as a kind of creative constraints in my design.
Uh-huh.
So it's not a requirement per se, but it just gives me the border that I cannot cross, and I'm just constraints that I'm working within.
Yep.
And for this reason, I will go with the 55 cards were mentioned, but I want to try designing a game with less than 55.
No, go for it. Go for
So
it.
the idea is that we have this deck of 27 cards, and this is basically shuffled. But because replayability is something that and sandboxy feeling is something that I want to go for, we we do not play with all the cards. At the start of the game, during the setup, we remove one of the text card. I will just give it a shuffle so I'm not certain which card exactly goes away.
Uh-huh.
And I'm from those 9, I'm removing 3, so I do not know which unit cards are going away. It may be
Oh,
that I
nice.
don't know 3 hoplite cards are going away, or maybe one, or maybe in some sequence. And then when I remove 9, to 27, dear class, we arrive at 36. And this is the deck for the game. When it runs out, the battle is over. This is
Oh, okay.
this is just as simple as that. I give it a shuffle, and the basic idea right now is that all the players always have 3 cards on their hands.
Okay.
So I do not know, Hisi, because it looks like no one is joining us in Tabletop Simulator. But if you are red, I will switch color to blue,
Yeah,
and
I am
then
red.
and then before you will pick an army, and you can pick, red, blue, or yellow. It doesn't really matter. I want you to draw yourself 3 cards.
Okay.
So the basic idea is, and this is, I will just, for the sake of our audience, I suppose they can see your hand,
Yeah.
but they cannot see my hand, and the idea is that in normal game, obviously they would not. I will play with open hand because it also will help to explain what am I doing and why.
Okay. So let me do the same thing. So what I just flip these for you so you can see them.
Yeah, or you can even place them on the table, no worries. The
Yeah. This,
basic
I mean, we're play testing, so I'm not. This is not about me winning or anything like that. So let's just play everything face up.
so we see that we have, those common signal cards with the volume, and we have some cards with the effects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the way that this version works, the cards with the text, they are not useful for anything else but the text. I have ideas how to do this differently, but it's not written down, so I do not want to make it completely arbitrary. Those cards are basically, let's assume that they have only what is written on the card.
Okay.
This means, for example, that for you, I think that in the game you really pick your side before drawing a card. So the cards should not dictate your choice of the army, but but seeing that you have Athenians, maybe you want to go for the vanilla blue Athenians. Maybe you want to
Okay.
go
So
for
what do
the
I do? Just grab. So how do we do setup in the game?
so I keep saying ideally, but let's agree on a certain number of units that we
Okay.
want to use. Let's say 10 units tops, and you can do this usually. You can do this secretly within those boxed areas. I will just take 1 unit, and the audience will see I am blue. I'm dragging the component into the blue box in Tabletop Simulator. You do not see this counter anymore. So those things can be done in secret. But
Okay.
but for right now, I would say pick any 10 units of any type just belonging to a single army. So
Oh.
do not mix blue, yellow, and
Oh, I
red.
love. Okay. I'm just gonna randomly grab.
Mhm.
So 3 of each, and then I'll random one.
And if you need a die, it's here.
Okay.
I will go with Athenians.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab these 10.
Arrange them arrange them on your side of the board any way that you want, but the
You say
big
my
thing
side of the
is,
board,
y-
this back
yeah,
row.
yeah, the edge row. But there is one thing that you need to remember: there may be no more than 6 units within a single grid, within a
Okay.
single area. But other than this, and it doesn't matter what is at the front, what is, where you can arrange them because it's a little abstract sort of thing.
Okay.
So then I do something similar with my, let's say, blue army. So I will just take the, let's say, 2 peltasts, 1 cavalry, and this will leave me, let's say, with 7 hoplites. And obviously, I mean, once again, the arrangement of those units within the grid and in which is supposed to be a free form. So I could, for example, place all my units like this, leaving this area empty. That's all right. If I want to encourage players to have fun a little bit with this. So the next step is around the map, around the board, we have also the blue square markers and the round markers. And I'm sorry, Hisi, your markers are on the other side of the table. But what I can do, I can simply
Can you grab
try
them?
to, yeah, I will just unlock them so they can be repositioned around the table. And I will
Okay.
just bring
You
them.
want me to just grab? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Don't worry, I got this. It won't look pretty just
I think
yet
we need to.
because it's a messy thing, playtesting, right?
Yeah.
It, so the thing is, at the beginning of the game, every area is supposed to have an assigned order of a certain type, and
Okay.
you, we may need to zoom up a little bit because I want to leave those markers the way that the size that they are. But basically, the area can have one order, one
Okay.
square order. It can be attack, it can be move, it can be hold.
And what's your
It,
attack range? Is that going to be the next row?
the next adjacent area that is in front of your unit. So right now, those hoplites, they have I wasn't I they are looking this way.
Right.
If I will rotate them, right now they are facing this way. And attack works exactly like you said, Hisi. If they either move into in, towards the front, or if there is an enemy in front, they just line up alongside the edge, and I can fit only 3 units. Only 3 units can attack across the edge in a single attack, and we just execute. We perform combat between the
Okay.
units. So the basic idea is the players have the freedom of arranging their forces around the map, but we have to choose in secret the orders for our units. So
Okay.
I see the disposition of the Spartan army, and I sort of know where I want to attack. So in in the game, I would be placing secretly from Hisi an Athenian order marker for every area, but this time I will just do it kind of publicly so you can see what is happening.
Okay. So yeah, mine
Just
are all face up. Move, 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 move.
and that's fine. That's fine. I will just place it like this. At the beginning of the game, at the beginning
Well,
of
let
the
me ask
game,
you:
yeah, listening.
is there other than hold and move? I would assume I can't attack if there isn't anything in an adjacent
But
area,
attack. Yeah, yeah.
unless I anticipate you moving into that. So let's say I had attack here and you were in here, and I said attack and you moved. Then could I attack, or is that I can't place an attack because there is nobody there?
So you always can place attack. There are 2 orders that allow you to move on the across the grids.
Uh
And
huh.
this is attack. They are just received a kind of order to charge, and they try to close the distance with the enemy.
Oh, okay,
But
okay,
move allows you to change the facing slightly easier and then move. Attack is always either changing facing or moving to the front.
okay. So I'm just going to give a full-on attack order.
And that's fine if this is what you want to do.
That sounds ominous. That's fine if that's what you want to do.
because there will be things that will be happening later, just because of our
Oh, that
decision
sounds like
right
a
now.
threat. The
So
things that'll
in
be
in
happening later.
in the game, those orders are, chosen secretly. So we just do those make those decisions only on the basis of the arrangement of the units and your
Okay.
idea how you want to fight the battle. For the sake of the clarity of the demonstration, we can we will, after committing those orders, they are revealed. And mind you, with the area, because they are always associated with the areas that your units are in. So we know that all the units within that area have order to attack.
Yeah. So this is how it should be done. Okay.
Yeah. So the next step is, and we have a sequence of play uh, after drawing the cards, after this kind of setup situation, we have to choose who is the first player. So let's do this traditionally. Grab a die, roll d6, and the higher roller is the first player, the first to move. So congratulations, Hisi. I made the initiative marker. It's a kind of, just a keepsake
Okay.
uh, to to make players remember that they always will be performing things first in this turn.
Okay.
So the next step is really mm, initiative player can decide if you want to change your orders. You can try changing your orders right now by playing cards from your hand. You have
Okay.
only three to choose from, and
So let me make sure I understand the sequence. So we go through scenario setup, which might have units pre laid out on the board.
yeah,
Then we assign orders. So I'm going to assign orders. You're going to assign orders in secret. Then we roll for initiative.
mhm,
And then I can go ahead, since I won, I'm going to then execute my orders. So if I don't do anything, meaning just I, I, I don't change, then these units are going to then try to execute the order that I've given them until at such point I try to change that order by
yeah,
signaling or whatever the
yeah.
case may be. Okay.
And the thing is, the time to change those orders are before any area will be activated and any area will start executing those orders.
Okay.
So you see what is going to happen, and you have to decide now if you want to do this any different. Right now, long-term picture, at the end of this turn, the those units will end up here, and this is it, kind of. Those units will advance here, and all the Spartans will advance here, unless you want to change the orders. You don't have to do this.
No, so
It's
I'm
just
not going to change anything. So if I just let this resolve, do I just move everything here up one?
yes, but in a sequence.
Okay.
So because you are the first player, choose one grid with the attack order. Attack order has the letter A, so you know that first we have to resolve all the attack orders on the map, with the first player going first.
Okay.
Advance the order marker with them just as well. And because the game is supposed to be about controlling the noise on the battlefield, advancing heavy infantry is supposed to be making noise.
Okay.
I mean, once they get moving, it's difficult to. Uh, uh, it may be difficult to make them stop.
Yeah.
So, so for this reason, every time when hoplite unit, or maybe not only hoplite but at least one hoplite unit in the group order in moves, the basic vanilla rule is we place second level of the noise on this destination area.
Okay. Cool.
Now, because I want to make Spartans having them a different flavor, Spartans have the special ability of advancing with hoplites, but actually gaining only one level of noise. They advance in quiet or
Okay.
almost in silence.
Okay.
Why this is important? It is because if Hisi later would like to change this order, the chance to change this order depends on how noisy this area is. And the more noise there, the more probable it is that the order will be voided. The change of the order will be voided.
I think this is such a cool concept um, to control your own army. So this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah.
As the keepsake, something that I have found out, I just rotate the order markers to show that this group has moved already.
Okay.
So in
Let's
this
call
turn,
that tipping.
because we are certainly not tapping, no.
No. But it's like it looks like it's a dice that's now tipping,
Yeah. So
and you
after,
can trademark that tipping.
oh my goodness,
You're welcome.
copyrights in not yet published game. Anyway, now that the first player did his first order, the non-initiative player has to execute one of his attack orders, if any.
Okay.
With attack order, I have two choices. I can either advance front, and this is kind of it, or if I want, all those units can rotate and basically do nothing else because they are not in maneuver mode. They are just being asked to rotate in place. Of course, this offers me no advantage whatsoever. So those Athenian hoplites will advance one space forward with the order marker and the noise marker level 2. By the way, the noise markers or volume markers are associated with the area, with the grid space, not with the units, not with just with the area on the
Okay.
board. So I have performed this attack, and now Hisi, do you have any attacks remaining to perform?
Yes. Let me see if I can get this. Oh, now I've got a mixed units. So these go quieter. Do the associated units that might normally do two only get to do one because of their quietness?
So the way that the rules are written now, and this is on this little cheat sheet to the right of the table, action, attack, or move, it only mentions hoplites. So light infantry and cavalry advances or moves or attacks in perfect silence. That is basically just their move entering the new grid doesn't create a volume in the destination
Okay,
space.
just the hoplites because they've got so much stuff they carry and they're chatty. Okay.
And the special rule for the Spartans is basically that my Athenians got second level of the noise after advancing. Yours, they get only one.
Got it. Okay.
And there is one more thing. I need to look it up at how I phrased this. Uh, okay, the if already adjacent to the enemy, because you were not already adjacent to the enemy, you are now. There is no attack between us just yet. They are closing in, but
Right.
but there is no attack.
Plus, I'm hiding behind this bush, so you can't even see me.
Looks like it. I hear some quiet murmur behind the vegetation, but or maybe I'm not hearing anything because my boom boxes are playing more loudly.
There you go. There you
Get
So
out of the bush, Mike.
hello,
go.
Hi, Richard.
I don't
welcome.
know if you noticed that you popped on, boss.
It's all good.
If
I'm
you will
enjoying.
have any if you will have any questions, because I am not necessarily following all the comments in the real time, just stop me talking and pop the question. And this applies to everyone. If I get too ranty, stop me, please.
Oh, no, rant away, dude. That's why we're here. I mean,
Exactly.
it's nice to hear what you're thinking, because sometimes I can associate and go, yeah, I think that way, or oh, that's interesting. I hadn't looked at that problem that way, and that will give me new insight into maybe looking at something different. So I'm all about, like you said earlier, let's see how the sausage is made, because when I get into explaining my things, I'm going to be just as chatty. So just
Mhm.
be,
Richard,
Listening.
I actually have a question for you.
Mhm.
So since we're just in the beginning of the game here, talking about orders, right?
Yeah.
Can you assign multiple orders to the same group, to the same unit?
So the basic idea is that if you see the square counter, this is the order for all the units within this space.
Mm-hmm.
But the keen-eyed viewers will see that there are round circles. Those are direct orders or individual orders, and they can be assigned to a specific unit.
mm-hmm.
So right now, this little hoplite has the move order, but the others have to hold.
Oh, I see.
When we will get to the move orders,
Mm-hmm.
those hoplites will be able to do something like this. And this can be done at a setup just as well, but
Mm-hmm.
because right now, once again, in the version that the game is currently, those individual orders are not mentioned in the game materials. So I
Uh-huh.
didn't want to complicate the story, but the intention is you can have multiple types of orders within the single area. You just
Gotcha.
mark them differently.
I see. And how many orders do you start with?
Uh,
Three,
this
right?
is this, well, the free cards in your hand that give you the possibility to change your orders, but the big idea is that you can assign those orders as you see fit. So
I see.
theoretically, unless I will come up with unless I will feel the need to constrain this, for example, in historical battles, it may be bad idea in historical situations,
Uh-huh.
in authentic historical battles, to give complete freedom to players to issue any order that they choose for any single unit that they have.
I see.
But right now, in this sandboxy kind of battle that we are having right now in front of us, it would be perfectly fine to assign those circular orders any way that we see fit.
Cool. All right. Sounds good.
So, so Hisi, unless there are any more questions, pick a new area with the attack order and execute the order.
Okay. So you've already moved two of yours.
Actually, I moved one because I have only one attack.
Okay, well, let me rephrase that. I've had an activation, you had an activation, I activated, you did something, another
No,
activation.
no, because the idea is that we have to resolve all the attacks
Oh, okay.
before we will resolve all the moves. After all the moves, we resolve all the regroup orders, if any, and then hold. Hold is basically just hold position, so it doesn't need to be resolved. Okay,
Oh,
flip it back, no worries.
I will. I'm still learning this. Okay, so since I have one of those, I get one of those, and over here, I don't even worry about that because
At the way that the rules are written, no noise, no volume increase just because they are running through.
okay,
And one more thing that I wanted to say, but what I was going to.
okay. I'm just going to throw out a random thought.
Mm,
Um, and it's probably a bad idea, but you could on each of these areas just put an, a tracker for sound, and
yeah,
you have a token that just moves up and down as you move through. I don't know. Okay.
It's possible. It makes the board looking slightly differently. And my
Yeah, it
my
doesn't look like a battlefield.
I'm not saying that this is a wrong idea, but right now I only have those double-sided markers that are added to the area. I
Anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. Ignore me.
After I never. So one of the things, there are never bad comments. For example, I didn't think of the tracks for the specific space. It's just
Well,
one
again,
of
it's
the,
going to take away from the aesthetics. Um,
but it's also a way to, if I will have ever difficulty with the number of the counters, right now I have to have X number of counters with level 1, level 2, and X number of counters with level 3 or level 4. But if I will follow the Hisi advice, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, right? And this is it. And I have all the levels covered for all the areas. So this is something to point out to others.
oh, yeah, if you put the tracks on the individual areas, you only need 16 counters.
Indeed.
But yeah.
Right now that the attack orders have been executed, we move to next category move, and I can see that Hisi doesn't have any move orders left. He would be the first to move if there would be any, but there are not.
No.
So I will just advance, because I could try to rotate and move in here, but I will just simply move in here. Movement, once again, because those are not hoplites, they do not create any volume, so
Okay.
they stay this way, like that, and the order has been executed. There are no further orders to be resolved, because the every order marker comes with A, B, C, D, and those are the orders that need to be resolved in the alphabetical order.
Okay.
Hold markers, they do not have this, because this is about really holding position, and basically nothing happens there. No need to do anything. So we are almost at the end of the first turn, because we resolved all the orders. Now administrative phase or cleanup phase.
Okay.
First, some units may be in this game running away from the enemy. Obviously, no one is running away just yet, so this just doesn't happen. But after performing this route movement, reduction of volume in almost all areas. If we would be engaged, if we would be fighting between those two areas, the volume there would not decrease.
Okay.
But because no one is engaged anywhere just yet, we simply reduce all those levels by 1. So I flip this, and we remove the others.
Okay.
After doing this, if Hisi, for example, is not satisfied with the cards that he has, and the basic idea is limit of 3 cards in your hand. You may want to have other card. You can discard up to 1 card of your choice.
Okay.
There is
So go ahead.
there is no reshuffle in this game right now. So if you, for example,
But these cards are also the timer for the game, correct?
yes,
So that means I can game it.
you can. It's just that right now there are 30 cards in the drawing deck.
Right.
So by discarding 1 card, you are not speeding things up just that much yet.
Well, 3%.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
But for example, in this game, there
I
are
had
no
evil
ways.
plans.
There are no ways for me to pick up through discard pile.
Okay.
So basically, the cards that go your way, if you discard them, they are gone from this single game forever.
Right. So
And
I don't understand execute. Well, so what does this card do here?
so this card, remember when you were placing the order markers at the beginning of the thing,
Yeah.
at the setup? After we will resolve our initiative, we will be able to try to change the orders in the areas that are occupied by our units.
Okay.
So let's say that you win the initiative, you play this, you there are the volume level is 2. This means that we have to add the 2 levels of volume in the area that you want to change the order. And because I want to make it, I want to give the choices to the players. 2 levels means that you can affect by the same change 2 adjacent areas.
So why would I play this? Is this something I play on myself to minimize the noise, or do I play it on you to increase the noise?
You play it on your own units to change the orders. You can see, for example, that I am in the back.
Oh, I can change the order, but it's going to cost me noise.
And card from your hand, and you only have 3 card stops, right? If you use it for this change, you will not be able to change the orders maybe of other areas. They will have to stay the way that they are.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this one I think I want to keep. This one I want to keep. This one not so sure about. So I'm going to I'll discard this one,
You can put it aside any
and then I draw
way.
another one, right?
You can, yeah.
I just want to make sure I get it right. Okay.
So this is a leader card that is supposed to give us the opportunity to add a leader unit, deploy a leader in the area of your choice.
Okay.
Anyway, anything, I like what I have, and the next step is really to check who is going to be the first player. So I roll my d6 and I have 4.
3.
So it looks like I am taking the initiative thing.
Yep.
One of the things that I want to make possible, if you have so-called leader cards, you can use them during the initiative roll to modify your roll by, let's say, +2 to the die roll.
Ryszard,
Listening.
Mike Botticelli asks, "What is noise?" So I think maybe you might want to explain the concept of noise in the game so that it has some context for him.
So the what I call interchangeably so far in our recording noise or volume, those are those markers,
Well,
and
the game is called Toot Toot.
yeah, but the idea is that whatever your units do in the game, let's say they skirmish or harass the enemy, they fight, they fight hand to hand, or they advance to combat. The heavy infantry moves across the plane. They fill in the gaming space, the battlefield space, with the volumes of noise. And the more noisy it gets in the area, the less effective your issuing of the orders may be. So if I will, let's say that I will attack with my blue hoplites there, at the end of the attack, whether I kill someone or pin them or do anything or no result, the level in those 2 areas increases by 2. So at the beginning of the next turn, if I want to stop attacking, make sure that those Athenians they lost badly, they were rebuffed. I want them to not attack anymore. But now the level of the noise is 3, so if I can play a card that can be used, then there is a die roll. This is level 3. to change the order from attack to anything else, I have to get a certain threshold. And right now on level 3, I need to roll 1 to 3. So by rolling 4 or higher with this level of noise, they still are attacking. But I spent a card trying to convince them to do otherwise. So this is the idea behind the noise and the volume, because you are supposed to not have direct control over your units. They have certain mode assigned to them. They are expected to move. They are expected to attack. They are expected to hold. But there will be times in the game where you want to switch those orders. And the more loud it is within a given area, it is supposed to be impossible if it's the absolute noise level.
Yeah.
You have to send the leader then, if you have the card that allows you to do this, and then still is a 50% chance that they will not listen to the leader. So I hope that this answers the question.
Yeah, we'll give him a second to see if he's got a follow-up question on that.
No worries.
What's the highest that the noise can go to, or is there a limit?
So this is level 1.
Uh-huh.
On the flip side, level 2, level 3, and level 4. The idea about the orders is that if there is you can never go higher. When you try to issue the orders, you can never go higher than 4.
Okay,
So
that's what I was asking.
right now, I have those cards in my hand. If I want to change the order on level 3 area, I cannot play this because 3 plus 2 means 5. They will not hear me. I do not have
Okay.
the right card to do this. So
So let me clarify. So your noise in an area can't go higher than 4. So it's not like you can play other cards at a 4 threshold. If they have noise, you can't even play that card until the noise subsides a little bit.
the only way with this would be really to use the leader that is already there, and he tries to roll a die and see if they listen. But there is one exception to this basic rule, that you cannot, because in combat, when you're attacking, you increase the level of the target space and your own space by 2 levels.
Right.
So right now, and it is possible, I mean, I do not need to change this attack order. They just execute this attack order, but the noise level is always capped out. 2 plus 2 is 4, so this is fine. But in my case, it goes up to 4, and it's capped at 4. It doesn't go to this hypothetical 5.
Got it.
What is more, at the end of the combat, if we are still occupying our spaces with at least 1 unit, our areas are engaged. So at the end of the turn, those volume levels, they are still engaged. They are not going down. They just stay
So
this
normally
way.
in the maintenance phase, where we knock the volume down by 1, while you're engaged, you do not do that.
Precisely.
Okay.
So this means that hoplites become a little bit like, fire and forget kind of weapon. And this is intentional, because I want players to think about the battle like you have to have a plan. When you fire your hoplites, right? When you make them move and advance upon the enemy, because you can do this the way that, for example, Hisi did, advance along the entire line, but you can keep some units in back and just issue the order later.
Yeah, that's for sissies.
Well, it's one way. It's another way of doing this.
It's just another way to play it incorrectly, but I like that you built that in.
There is no way of playing incorrectly. You
I
just have to
know.
make less mistakes than your opponent. That's all that there is to it.
I ain't giving you a hard time, boss.
It's not a hard time. No worries. So
Mike says
this
he
is
believes he understands. So yeah, Mike, the core of this game is kind of noise management to some degree because it affects your ability to control your troops. And so what's trying to be simulated here is the chaos of battle and the in a lot of games you give commands and they can execute them here and the games that don't have different mechanics on how whether it's a chit pull to activate or pulling a card. In this case, it's through noise and how you deal with the noise and the types of actions that you're doing in the game. I think it's pretty sweet actually.
Especially if it works in practice.
So far, I don't see it not working. I mean, that's why we're going to play test the heck out of this thing, and you're going to have enough people looking at this that we'll figure out how to make it work if it doesn't. So.
Oh, yeah. I'm not worried about this. It's just that in my solo games so far, there are some elements of this design that are not working the way that I wanted. But this is just the beginning of the journey, so it's really not that I'm worried about it.
Yeah.
So this is how noise can limit or volume can limit our choices when changing the orders. Right now we have rolled those for initiative. I have the initiative. So my question is, or maybe not, is do I want to change the order? So let's say that I want to let's say that I want to issue the order just to show how this works. Only on this space, I could try to issue the same change the order in the other. I don't want to hold anymore, but other players or Hisi officially will not know that I'm placing a move marker here. So card with 2 levels of volume, I'm putting the 2 levels of volume, and this new order is secret, for the tension purposes. Because right now he theoretically doesn't know whether I want those hoplites to attack into this space or do something different. But of course, our viewers know already that this is just move. And after playing this card, I place the corresponding volume marker in the space. So basically, the musicians are tooting the signal to move, and later on, those units will execute this order. If the order is issued to the space where the volume is non-existent, there is no die roll. The change happens automatically.
Okay.
So second thing, because I have those they are facing the people who are going to attack. Maybe Hisi will want to change his order to something else and stop attacking, but maybe I want to change the order of those peltas too, because they are moving, and where they are going to move? Nowhere. So I'm playing another card with the volume of 3. I'm changing the order in this area. I fear if there would not be any volume here, or it would be the level of 1, I could change in the adjacent friendly occupied area.
Right.
But the volume is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5, so they will not hear this order.
Hold on one second, Richard. So Mike is asking, do you have a physical copy of the game?
Right?
Not yet.
No.
He just started designing this this past week and just has the tabletop simulator version. This is his entry into the card jam.
And right now I have digital files for the counters, but they are and the cards, but they are not arranged into the counter sheet. I believe that throughout July I will be able to provide on each the PDF files with the physical components, so people will be able to print it, before the end of the jam. But I started digital just because I still want to modify the text on the cards. The values on the units are not certain.
Right.
So in digital format, it's easier for me than to craft new prototype with every new iteration. But it is coming. It will be made available. It will be made available. So what? Sorry.
And Vigilant says he likes it. It feels real.
Oh no! I have done something that people can enjoy, and it's ancient. Anyway, so once again, I'm changing the orders on those playtests. They do not have great chances attacking this opponent. So secretly, officially, this would be kept secret until Hisi will decide about changing all of his orders or none. But for now, for the sake of the demonstration, I will just show that this is actually hold just as well. This card is spent, and this card, the last card in my hand, I will just keep close because it may come handy. So I officially have finished changing my orders.
Okay.
It's up to you, Hisi, if you want to try. Honestly, you don't have to. You don't have to try anything. If you want to use the leader, you can, but you can just you can just not change anything, and the units will carry on.
Okay. So two questions. When we went to moving, we alternate, but when you're doing your cards, you just play everything you want at once. We don't alternate. You play a card, I play a card.
Depending on the initiative, yes.
Okay. Next question. So, where you have your noise for your order here, and now I know it's a move. So you're going to move. This stays here, and they may not generate any noise from moving up the back. And so they are going to move out of the area where the noise from the order was, and effectively it goes away. Would that be a fair statement?
Not quite, because first it stays in the area that is associated in. All those toots resonate in the air. At the end of the turn, if there is no combat associated with this area or no units are becoming engaged with this area, the space will become, volume will be decreased to level 1, but it stays there. So this is one thing. Second thing, for those people who have the access to Tabletop Simulator, this bottom right cheat sheet about the executing orders and the procedures, you at the end of the move, hoplite units that moved and/or changed facing add 2 volume levels in their final area. So all those musicians that are playing the flutes, they just accompany the marching ranks of heavy infantry, and they make a mess of the quiet space there. So for example, with this move marker, I can change my facing by 1 and then advance here, and then I stop there, and this is the situation.
Okay, that's what I was asking. So there is still a cause and effect of that noise that you do carry some of it along with you. You just leave some behind that resonated in that area. Okay.
So the basic idea of this design is that usually whatever moving or combat in this game produces volume.
Right. No, I like that. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't something where, I'm going to go ahead and commit an order, generate some noise, and then I can sneak away from there's some noise behind me now, but I'm no longer there.
If there will be a routed unit running through this noisy area, it may be more difficult, for them to get rallied.
Okay.
So this also may.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be abstracted, and it doesn't have to be real. Like, the sound of
And
I
honestly,
like that idea. I like the cause and effect though that you have so far.
And
I just wanted to know that by moving forward, they're going to carry.
You are not running away from your consequences of your actions. No, not in this game.
So basically,
I'm asking the dumb question, right?
They are not dumb. They are not dumb.
Cool. Okay. So it's my turn to. Well, I'm just going to, for lack of a better, I'm just going to just attack, right?
So just you wait. because you know that I have one attack, and I am the initiative player, so you are not attacking first. It's actually my attack that is going first.
Like I have no fear. So
It just means that before resolving of this
oh,
first
oh, that's
attack,
right. We go to attack. So I have
you
no orders. I'm not going to change anything. Got it. Now we go to the attack. You have the initiative. We do all attacks now, and so you get to attack first. Got it. Okay.
so this is why at the very beginning I was talking about the size of the counters, because I want to make this game intuitive. Right now I have 4 hoplite units, but you can see that I can physically fit in only 3 tokens, 3 unit counters across the edge. And
Right.
this is the limit of the attack that I can perform. You
Mhm.
can see also that Spartan hoplites, they have value of 5, so 3 times 5 is 15, compared to Athenian 4, 12, right? And then we
Why?
have some, hmm?
Why is it times 3?
Yeah.
Because 3 units, 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha.
I guess that if you
Oh,
are a
I have
Spartan,
one. That's why that's not worth 15. It's just worth
it's worth 5, and
Right now,
then
right.
yeah.
you all the units that are within this area up to
Mhm.
3,
So it's 10 to
they
12.
they participate in this combat.
Right.
I
I
wanted
see.
to
Do I
point
have
this
to, or let's say if I wanted to keep my ponies back here, I could do this?
Right.
the way. So the rules are silent right now, maybe because they are not written yet. But the way that I was doing this so far, if you have 3 units that are attacked and the area is attacked, all those 3 units have to be participating in this.
Oh, because
Gotcha.
they all have the attack order, so
No,
they would be
no, no,
attacking.
not because of that. They
No,
belong to the
Richard, it
area.
is, I'm making a rule change for you. It is because of that.
Uh, so I will just try to distract people with bringing Fibans to the table, because once again, if you played tactical ancients, you may enjoy slightly different formations. Hoplite battles were more complex than some people think of them.
Uh-huh.
Fibans were famous because of deep ranks that they were using. So the
Ah,
way that I want to represent this, Fiban army can put their hoplites into deep ranks.
Oh, nice.
So they change the facing. The marker is supposed to indicate the front.
Mm-hmm.
This is why this triangle is there. And we still can see that those are Fibans. We still can see the values. But once again, I can fit only, well, I don't know, 5 or 6 counters. It looks
right.
like in Tabletop Simulator, but not 3. So this is supposed to be the advantage of the Fiban army, that they can do something like that
That's smart.
and go with 4 times 5 against, let's say, 3 times 5.
Right.
Yeah, very cool. I like that. I like how that's unique to that army and it ties into the historical nature of them. That's very cool. Okay, so
So,
just a couple of thoughts. It would be nice if, as a defender, now I'm saying attack, so that if I just had a move, and this is a suggestion, that
mhm,
I don't have to engage you with all of my units.
because, for example, you want,
If this was a move, and I don't know why at this point, there might be a reason to lure you in to this space so that I can close on both flanks.
or for example, leave the heavy infantry, the strongest unit, in the back, and try to stall me with the weaker units, and then engage me with the remaining heavy. Yes. I mean, it's a fair point. Right now, because the rules are not written, I cannot even show you that we have to do it any other way.
No. That's why we play test. I'm just going to throw out ways to fix your game. You can either do it or not. I mean,
But it's not broken.
And right now, he has created one more difficulty for me already, even though he doesn't know it yet. So right now you will see that all the units, they have morale B, because
Mhm.
the morale is supposed to be a column shift when resolving combats.
I have
we
an
total
A.
the values. I have 12 against 10. 10 against 12 is I came up with the idea to round up in the favor of the defender. So let's call it 1-1. But then one of the if the majority of units have worse morale rating than mine, and by majority I mean at least half,
Mhm.
then I get one column shift in my favor, depending on the size of the difference between us. So if all the defenders would have morale C, I would go from 1-1 to 2-1. Or rather,
Okay.
sorry, 3-2.
Oh, okay.
But
Then that's good.
Hisi created a problem for me because he has 3 units and every unit has a different morale rating.
Yeah.
So,
Hold on,
so
Ryszard. Hold on one second. Mike has joined us in TTS, so you'll see him there.
okay,
Copycat.
welcome, and feel free to manipulate the bits or assign yourself a color just as well if you want to. If you will have any questions, I believe that. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you were saying because I've got a mix of morale that causes a problem.
Because I just didn't come up with the idea that you can have 3 ratings of morale in a attacked area. So let's say that your morale is B, average morale is B. If this would be the case, you would simply stay on column 1-1, and I roll d6. There may be some modifiers, but in this case, in this particular case, there are no modifiers to be listed. And those of you who have the access to the tabletop simulator, the modifiers that are right now and the column shifts, those things will be changing because some things need to be added. There are no modifiers for the flank attacks, for the rear attacks, for example, and they clearly need to be there. In any case, for the sake of our demonstration, I just roll d6 on 1-1. This chart has been pilfered from the game that is called Epic of the Peloponnesian War from Clash of Games. You may be familiar with this game, and it's alright if you are not, but what I like about this chart, it's non-linear. That is basically the effects, they do not change gradually, they are kind of random. Or seemingly random. In this case, column 1-1 3. Now this is morale test for the attacker, morale test for the defender.
Okay.
So basically, Hisi, we both roll die, and let's assume that you will roll against morale of B. This is your average. So roll 4 or less, and you are fine.
That is.
Thank you. Thank you for your willingness.
Okay. Yeah.
So if everything is fine,
You
there
said
is
to
no
roll 4 or less, so I kept rolling until I got 4 or less.
you you you
Did I
you
do that
you,
wrong?
you would make a teacher proud, Hisi. It's exactly what I asked you to do.
That's what I did.
Anyway,
I'm a
because
simpleton.
so we both passed morale test,
No,
so
no, I rolled a 6, boss.
nothing happens to the
No,
units.
no, I
But
rolled a 6. So why don't you play that out as my morale broke, right?
let yes, if we fail the moral test, once again the helpful chart at the bottom here will show if you roll equal, if you tie or you roll under your average morale, nothing happens. But if you fail, you choose one unit from the afflicted area, and hoplites, they are kind of pinned, for the lack of the better word. I have this pushed. They are not running away, but they
Right.
are not on the front lines just yet. Alternative choice for the Hisi, if we are going with the 6, is making those guys run away, either light infantry or light cavalry.
Okay.
So the difference is route, they will be moving one area at a time at the end of each turn off map. They can be, if Hisi will be able to issue the order to regroup or play some text cards, they may be rallied.
Okay.
The hoplites that are pushed away, it's slightly easier. They are not running away just yet. They are not running away just yet. So this is the choice.
Okay.
In any case, one of the units have to leave the front line, and this is the result of our combat here.
Okay. So why don't I just see? That's going to weaken my front line, but let's go with that.
So we just push this marker onto you, and now we will have this 5 against 12. Last thing is, or maybe second thing, I place this engaged marker between us, and we have to increase the volume by 2 levels in your area and mine. So I am maxed out, and you are at level 3. And you still retain your attack order.
So is this 3?
Sorry. What's that
Uh,
noise, Richard?
sorry,
Okay.
my mistake.
Okay. No. I was trying to make sure I understood it. Okay.
So the sequence, I stopped you Hisi earlier because the sequence here is important. Because I was initiative player, my attack happened earlier than any one of yours. Now you as a player have the choice to attack in the same area that you have been attacked, or to go with some other attack order.
Hold on 1 second. My cat has climbed up the front screen, and I'm going to go rescue her. Give me 2
can see-
seconds.
It's called operational break.
Yeah,
Come on down, little girl.
this is very interesting, Richard. I'm very impressed. You put a lot of thought into this already.
Well, yeah, but if you will play around with those rules that you already have heard, you will see that there may be some cases where things are not clear how to proceed.
Sure.
And this is what testing and designing is about. So no worries about this. It's just I want to put it out to all the designers and jump participants. It's all right if your design is not finished, it's not perfect.
Absolutely.
Oh, totally. Come on, little girl.
That's the whole point of doing this. It's and it's exciting.
You're a week into it, also, so don't be so hard on yourself.
It's all right. It's absolutely all right. You can even say bad things about the design. It's all right.
No, I'm still grasping with it. I like what I see so far. The route that's kind of cool that happens. Yeah, I see how you have to balance out your morale.
And choose the battle groups, the composition of those areas, because once again, nothing stops you from, let's say, occupying 2 grids at the beginning and just amass those 10 units in 2 grids, right?
Right.
And if you want, you can have those reserves, just like I did with this unit there, that can
Yeah.
lay
So now I can see where the reserves come into play, right? Let's say, for example, I had a reserve. I'm just going to pull this over. I then could say, "Oh yeah, I want to attack," and I could move that up. Correct?
So if you would have this hoplite, the idea is that at the moment when one of the units is vacating the front line because
Yeah.
it routes or is pushed, you can for free decide to insert the next unit.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
And it's not an order. You do not have to wait until later. They just move in.
Okay. Yeah, that simplifies it. You don't need to Okay, that totally makes sense. Okay,
So for the sake of
so if I
our
want to, I can attack here, right?
or
Or
any
here.
other area where you have attack order.
Okay, so let's go ahead and attack here. Is that my music?
It, it's all right if it doesn't quite fit. Maybe I have to rescale the counters a little bit. But so what we see here is once again the 9 points versus 4. So this is 2-1. Once again, let's say that your average morale is B, my morale is C, so it will be one column to the right in your favor. Two to
Well,
one
and I
becomes
also have hoplites with the lights, right? So does that?
it does. It does because those are the modifiers that I didn't brought up just yet. Those of you who can see the chart, you will see that some forms of combined arms maneuvers are uh, beneficial.
Yeah, I like that as well. Okay, so that gives me was it 2-1 or was it 3-2?
So we start 9-4, rounded down to in the favor of defender. It will be 2-1, right?
Okay, yeah.
One shift for morale, and one shift because you are attacking hoplites in combination with the light infantry.
Okay, nice.
So 4-1, and the basic principle in this on this chart is to roll as low as possible.
Okay,
This is the way that this chart is kind of constructed.
so a 4
Uh,
is not all that great, but okay.
it's there is this modifier -1 to the die roll. Hoplite attacks peltast, and there are only peltasts there. So
Okay,
I would say that it becomes free. With
same
free,
result, but okay.
we see that we both have to perform morale check. It's just that my morale check will have penalty of +1,
Okay.
and you roll against your morale of average 4 or less, everything's fine. But I have C, so I have
Oh,
3 or
come
less.
on. A 6 again.
So few things happen here. We have
Oh my god.
this always affects one unit in the area that was fighting, right?
Right?
You will note that I have failed mine, but you have failed yours just as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's
So
just roll.
it
All
means that one my unit and I they both are the same. One unit of light infantry is running away, so I'm putting the route marker on them. And once again, the Hisi has the choice to make
Yeah, I
whether
get
he
it. I'm
wants
gonna
to
have them
affect
around.
the hoplite or light infantry.
I I already had them run off.
So they receive the route marker, and
Okay.
this is kind of what we are left with. But we have to modify the volume levels. So 2 levels on in Hisi area, and I am maxed out because they were changing orders, so they are in the noise.
So Mike says he has ideas. I love it.
Oh no, I am I that inspiring already. But but don't if you want to share them, no worries. You absolutely can. You can write me a message. We can do this any way you want.
Very nice. Okay. So now it goes back to you.
The only problem is I do not have any attack orders remaining. So you have to perform all your attacks before I will do my move.
Okay. So these are going to stay engaged as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. Engaged. These were an attack.
So Richard, the
Listen.
hoplite always move one to the right during attacks.
Because this is a grid-based game, I just do not have this factored in at all. It's just so abstract that I thought that it's not necessary to go into such minutia. Because once again, this is one of the right now, and I do not know if I will ever give a scale. If I will assign that one unit is that amount of soldiers or one grid is this amount of physical space. I feel like leaving it abstract, you it also means that you do not have to worry about those
Yeah, no,
things.
I think abstract
Yeah.
totally works.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
So in
It's
this
up.
scenario, you said you have no more attacks, right? So I'm going to end up moving this as an attack. And I'm just for simplicity, I'm just flipping these.
That's fine.
And then now,
I will
oh,
just
yeah, don't
at the
forget that.
Spartan special ability with advancing hoplites.
Right. But over here, I have an attack. They didn't fare so well, but they still have to attack, correct?
They do. They
Yeah.
do.
So this is what I like. So now it's because I pulled back my stronger unit, and I did that because I wanted to see what was going to happen here. They're probably going to get crushed. But so it's 5 against 12, or that's 2-1.
If this is rounded down in favor of defender, it will be 1-3
Oh,
actually.
that's right. You're the defender.
But once again, let's see if there are some shifts in the way that I want to make this. The morale. Right now we have one unit with morale B, one with morale C. In such cases, with two units, I would say that the better unit leads by example. So the average morale of this group is B.
So
There,
here's a suggestion
listening.
for simplicity of rules, and I would always go with the highest morale unit of the three is what you use. Meaning that when I had these guys on the front line, they inspire everybody around them to their level. It may not be historically accurate, but you don't have to worry about doing the math if it doesn't add up. What's a B, B, and C, right?
It will certainly make the Spartan hoplites that much useful, and
Yes.
also Fiban Sacred Band that is special for a type of hoplite for Fibans.
Right,
With
and you don't have to have a special rule that says if you half it in this situation, take the highest in this situation. Just whatever the highest morale is in that location is the one that used for calculation. And if you wanted to, as opposed to me pulling this back, then the result on your morale goes to the one with the lowest natural morale, meaning I would not have had the option to pull them back. These guys would have routed. It also takes that control away from me, knowing that, or to some degree, right? Because they go into combat. Sure, they're all hyped up in the beginning because they're next to the hoplites, but then they get deep into it, and then their true nature comes, and then they turn and run.
So it's a fair point. What I was thinking about in the days leading to this recording is when you inspect the chart, it shows that those failed morale tests, they always affect one unit. But
Right.
when the numerical column is so skewed in favor of the attacker or defender, I am thinking of making D1 or D2, D3, where basically more than a single unit is affected.
I
And
think that's a good idea.
and then I still would retain, or maybe leave the player the choice which units they want to suffer the consequences.
Okay, I'm going to push back a little. The idea of the game is maintaining control. You, as a commander, a la the player, are to give an order to move or attack. You have a whole mechanic in place. And what you're doing here is you're saying, oh, well, you get to choose. You're kind of going against your own design by giving me agency, where other places I don't have the agency. And I'm going to hit you with a little logic. To me, it logically would be, and let's look at your chart. I would say 1-to-1, 3-to-2, 2-to-1, 1 unit's affected, 3-to-1, 2 units, 4-to-1, all units on the front line, meaning if somebody's in reserve, they're not affected. Or maybe they are. And so if it's a 1-to-1, 3-to-2, 2-to-1, then the lowest morale unit is going to suffer the morale break. If there are multiples, then I can choose which one I want. But in the scenario that we had, again, trying to stick with your theme, these guys would have turned and ran, and I would have had no way. Because here I'm trying to say, oh, I want you to back up. Well, I don't have control of these guys. I told them all to attack, right? These guys are forced to attack, but they would have run because they don't have the morale. That way, it gives you, yes, they have a higher advantage now because everybody gets an 8 going in, but that's still a weak point in my line at a C morale, and so they suffer that first morale break.
If this principle of non-direct control over your units would be retained all throughout the game, yes, then it makes an absolute sense. I just didn't come up with this idea. I'm not saying that it's wrong, and your suggestion is a good one,
It's the correct one.
because well, so this is a game. This is a game where we play according to arbitrary rules, right? So I would say that there is no good way. The only advantage of allowing the player to choose is that players can decide, oh, there is a way that my hoplite will not start running away and he can come back later, right? So I will lose my strongest unit in this fight for now, just because maybe I will succeed in rallying this unit.
Right. No, I get that. What I'm saying is the kind of the underwriting theme is that I don't have that level of control. And so respectfully, by giving me that control here, I think it breaks your theme just a little bit.
It does.
Okay. And again, so Mike asks if there's is there any terrain effects?
So right now there is none. One of the things that I want to build in is, for example, I want to have relationship between the unit types. So, for example, cavalry, playtests, attacking together, attacking separately, cavalry attacking hoplites alone, for example.
Okay.
But I also want to have the relationship between the different orders. So, for example, attacking unit in regroup order should be different than attacking unit in hold order. There should be some benefit or penalty. And coming back to the terrain, attacking unit in a defensible terrain, let's say on top of the hill, should be different than the attacking the unit on the flat terrain. Right now, the terrain is not in here in this module at all. It's not that it's not going to be here, but the way that I imagine that it can work, I can craft some tiles, kind of overlays, just like in not Jay did. Sorry, Purple Druid. I keep mixing up the nicknames. The scouting game.
Not only is he not Jay, he's also not Purple Druid.
Yeah, but I
name.
Purple Druid. In any case, the scouting game involved the terrain tiles, and something of the sort can be present here. Just like Lost Battles by Phil Sabin had tiles for the rivers, streams, hills.
So let me throw out a suggestion. Have you played Point Blank from Lock and Load? They have a map that has areas similar to this that have no effect on play other than organization. Hey, nerd. And you have terrain cards that can be played. So sticking with the theme of cards, you could come up with a deck of terrain cards that are just played, and you can build an infinite number of battlefields with terrain cards.
And here I was thinking that I will be so clever by sticking underneath those 55 cards. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can be done like this. It can be done like this.
Okay, so if we get back to the game, I have moved, and these are now forced to attack. We're at 1 to 3, right?
Yeah,
So
but
I roll that, correct?
you did, but or at
No, I
least
haven't rolled yet. There it is. I rolled a 1.
there are some shifts because you
Oh.
attack cavalry attacks
Well,
with peltas.
okay, you figure it out because it can only go one shift bad for me.
That you would be rolling on this 1 to 2 because
Okay.
cavalry and peltas, when they attack together, it's better than otherwise.
Okay.
So it starts at 1 to 3. Morale stays at B. No shifts because of this, but we end up on 1 to 2.
Okay, and I rolled a 1, so it's a morale check for each of us.
And we roll against 4.
Oh my god! Every time I've rolled my morale, I've rolled a 6.
I think
So
you should pick up the dice, the die piece and roll it.
Next time I will. Well, the other time I hit roll.
you can also flick it across the table like this.
Hey, well, I'm about to flip the table. I know that's one of the options.
I can rewind time, so knock yourself out.
I'm kidding. Okay, so if we do what we suggested, these dudes are now routed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the noise goes up to max at this point, right?
So flip the marker for now, and it should be fine. Mine basically stays at this level.
Okay. And then you passed your morale?
With the die roll, yeah, but I can roll it just again.
No, if you pass, you passed. Okay. So then this is now resolved. So everything is now resolved at this point. The noise, we go to management of tokens, if I understand correctly. So this is going to go down 1. This is going to go away.
It's just that you are jumping the gun a little bit, because what we have done is we resolved all the attack orders on the map.
Right.
But there is one more order with the letter, my move order, that hasn't been resolved. So right now, what I can do is basically either try to run away, because with move order they will not attack. They are not prepared to do this.
Ryszard, real quick, you want to look at what Mike's saying in chat? He has a suggestion. As opposed to me reading it, I'll read it, but go ahead and look at it. It says, how about your play area be 3.5 by 2.5 cards like Fields of Fire? They could be a 2-sided to give more variety, and you can arrange the battlefield the way you want. So obviously the 3.5 by 2.5 cards for terrain, he's saying, and make them double-sided.
It's not a disadvantage, but in comparison to the version that is right now on TTS, the different size of the terrain cards means that I would have to if I want to remain with the area stacking limits, let's call it like that, and with the attack limits of specific number of the units, it means that I need not only to use the terrain cards of a different regular size, but I need to rescale the counters just as well. Fortunately, for such a change, my counters, they do not come with multiple they are not like even Fields of Fire counters.
Actually, I don't think you need to. I think if you keep the game board as part of the board, again, like Point Blank, and just have terrain cards that you can play in those areas, you can keep your areas that work with your counters, because I think that I like that that the map has function
Yeah.
when it comes to organization, and the terrain could just be variable based on terrain cards.
But there is nothing impossible about this idea, Mike. It can be done. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the 11 by 11 grid of paper or some kind of board.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure we got Mike's input there. And so you're going to go ahead and do your move.
So I will try to complicate things for myself because once again in the rules right now in those aids I have not written whether it is possible to pass. That is basically decide that you do not want to move anywhere. So I will try to move away from
I'm going to
those
interject and say that would be holding, which is a change of command, which you should not be able to do.
changing command. The
No, you had a move command, and you said you wanted to be able to maybe pass. That's in
yeah,
effect a hold command. You told them to move; they're going to move, and now you don't want them to move. You can't. I don't think you want to give an option of passing. Again, I think it breaks the theme.
fair point. In this case, entering the area with a different area command.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that it just requires the procedure for updating the uh, markers. Basically, right now this unit has hold, those other units have move. It's just that it's not written on the play aid mm, as it is right now, and those units are facing this way.
Uh huh.
This may so in other words, in this game it is intended to be like this, but you can units in the single area they do not have to have the same facing.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So this would be my move, and now effectively the turn sort of ends. We
Okay.
decrease those volumes by one.
Okay.
And these do not decrease, although there should be a noise one here.
Yeah,
Why
and there is
don't they decrease?
because those units
They're
are
still
engaged
engaged.
and
Oh,
they are
they
fighting. So
got it.
so there is still noise constantly generated. One
Yep. Yep.
last
My guys are saying, guys, keep it down, but his guys are crazy and they're just still yelling.
No.
Mike,
Sorry.
I will try to make those PDF files available before the end of July, and they will be on each available through each. Right now, the counters, the units are uh,
Thanks, Mike.
0.9 inches by 0.45 inches, so in almost an inch by almost a half an inch, and the
Yeah.
markers are basically a square 4.5
Okay.
point
Hey,
45.
real quick, not Jay. I wasn't ignoring you, boss. Welcome to the stream and thanks for being here, my friend.
No worries. So I came into this an hour late. I've but I'm doing my best to wrap my brain around what's actually going on.
Athenians are fighting against Spartans.
Right, right. So and something Hissy just had commented on when you said I want to hold, but you can't do that after establishing a move command,
Yeah.
or because it would then be a change of the command.
So at the beginning of the turn, we have a separate phase where we decide to assign or rather change existing orders that are associated with units or areas. If we do not decide to do it then, when we will get to the resolution phase, we simply have to execute those orders, even if you may find yourself in a situation where this order doesn't give you any benefit anymore.
So let me interrupt. So at the very beginning of the game, um, not Jay, we assign orders.
Right.
From that point on, to change that order, you have to play a card from your hand. Let me scroll back here. Like I have these cards here. This allows me to make a change to an order, and it's going to cost me some noise.
Okay.
Okay. So when he was saying maybe I should be able to pass, he had already given the move order. And so to pass would be giving a hold order outside of the mechanic of playing a card to say, hey, stop moving and generate noise. And so I've taken all of mine and I started off with attack across the board. So right now they're just attacking.
Because that's the order.
Because that was the order I had given at the beginning of the battle before the noise, when there was some calm that I could make sure everybody was on the same page.
They keep
And so
going.
what happened in this battle is I attacked and then this unit broke. It didn't run away, but it backed off the front line.
Right.
Then he attacked, and because I had an attack order, even though I was facing insurmountable odds, I had no choice but to push the attack.
Okay. So I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Historic, and I'm coming out of game concept and applying history to it, since it's ostensibly a historical game.
Mm-hmm.
At this time period, did units not have, and I just had the words there I just had the words there in my mouth.
Non-commissioned officers.
No. Did they not have the ability to see the tactical situation and make decisions upon themselves? In other words, like Hissy saying, he's got the attack, but it's crumbling. The attack is failing. Was there not the ability of that unit to say, wait, whoa, hold on, let's step back before they break, which forces them to stop the attack? In other words, were they not able to have self-initiative to say, or self-preservation to say, well, hold on, wait a second, let's not attack? Or for that matter, your unit that you wanted to basically hold, you've given them an order to move, but for whatever reason might not at that exact moment might not be tactically sound to make that move.
Think of this as Black Friday, and I've opened the doors to my store and the crowd is coming in. At some point, you're going to lose control. And that's kind of what he's simulating here.
There is, however, because the history was brought up, it's difficult to gauge in the in a quantifiable means what sort of tactical small-scale control ancient Greek classical period armies had. It's basically, we just do not have the sources to let us know how those battles were fought on the unit by unit, like brigade or regiment scale. The descriptions of the battle are more than on the bigger scale than this, and we just do not hear of too many breakthrough maneuvers. It was rather mast line movements, and it in the period of ancient Rome with the ancient Roman legion, you may remember, maybe I'm sorry, I'm nerding out on history now.
No, go ahead.
The battle
you
of
not heard me talk about naval combat?
the battle of Kynoskephalae against Romans, and between Romans and the Macedonian kingdom, was won by Romans because some unnamed centurion, according to some source, noticed a gap in the enemy line, and he simply led the centurion, like a leader of 100 men, kind of. So
Oh,
so
wow.
so really not a general, not the wing commander. Basically, some non-commissioned officer decided that it's time to move into this space and flank
Right.
the enemy. But we do not hear such stories from the ancient Greek classical period, and so this is the history part of my answer. The design part of my answer, I do want inertia in my design. And your question begs another issue to be raised. There is nothing stopping me from, for example, adding the interrupt cards
Yep.
that you can play later during the turn, right?
Uh-huh.
That for example, leader steps in and says, no, we will try to rally, we will try to hold, we try to counter charge or something. Uh, this is the element that hasn't been added or
Well,
isn't right now.
but you bring up a really good point. And Chris and I were talking about this with our design. Is we want to get a core working game
Mhm.
and then build upon it. And I think you're really close here to having that core that you can come in and let's take Chris's example of being a little self-aware and doing some initiative in the middle of a battle might just be a card that you have to play as you called it, an interrupt, right? Yes, we have this, but and it's going to give you some agency, but I think it fits in with the theme because you're playing it as a card. It is an interrupt, and in this scenario, or in this case, you're saying these units, and maybe they have to have a minimum requirement of morale to do something like this as well, right? Or maybe it's a leader card there, or something along those lines. That if there's a leader, you could then do something like this. Otherwise, without a leader, and that gives more value to the leaders, right? And you said there's a risk when they're on the battlefield, you could lose them.
Yeah.
And this is just not just a column shift on your results table, but also maybe the ability to play certain cards from your hand. You have to have a leader in that location.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so the with a leader, and again, like I said, I came in halfway through.
Oh,
With the
don't worry.
leader, the risk is if that unit he is attached to is defeated, demoralized, what have you, he could be killed or run away.
Mm-hmm.
What's the benefit? There should always be, if there's a risk to losing something, there must be a benefit to having something there.
Risk reward, yes.
So
Yeah.
so right now in this design, the leader is represented by the round counter or the square counter. Square counter means that the leader is not attached to any particular unit; he's just in the area. But the attached leader is a round, and then he fits snugly on the unit counter. The presence of the leaders in the area provides a morale modifier to the tests. So in the chart combat table, there should be a note underneath here, underneath the middle
Bring
bit,
it down. Oh, thank you.
that leader basically gets -1 modifier to those rolls that we are doing with Hisi throughout our game. But the risk is that whenever the area is attacked, and it's not that unit has to suffer any losses, like failure. Whenever the area is attacked, you roll d6, and on 1, just like that, on 1 the leader is removed, and it's not. It happens. It's written right now. It's written the same way whether he's attached to a unit or just in the area.
Makes
Just
sense.
1 chance in 6 of losing your leader. Question was about also the benefits of having the unit attached to the unit, because morale if he's in the area, but when he's attached to the unit, the right now what we have is basically a modifier on rolling. If he's if he is involved in a combat, it's -1 to the die roll. So you can actually roll 1 and become 0, which is supposed to be the best result for the attacker on the chart.
Okay.
Coming back for a moment to our game on the table, the next step before the end of this turn would be moving the routed units one space towards the edge of the table.
Okay.
And Hisi, help me out. Place the volume level 2 on those areas that the routers are going into, because they cry and they shout and they make noise.
And it's supposed to be 2, correct?
2, because there is one more step to the administrative phase. This pushed back hoplite, he has morale of A. So right now it means that he has to pass a moral test 5 or less. Can you roll 5 or less on me on D6?
I can
Might
try.
do that. We've been trying.
Yay!
So in the
Well,
rules right now as
like that.
written, it means that he loses this pushed marker and he can return to the front line.
Okay, nice.
Basically, at the end of the turn, even if you do not have regroup order, you can indicate one hoplite unit that has pushed marker, and it can be in any area. If he passes the morale test, he loses this pushed marker. But
Okay.
it can be only one hoplite unit per turn at the end of the turn.
Okay.
What denotes the end of the turn, Richard?
So we have to fulfill all the orders, and we have done this already. All
Okay.
those orders with A, B, C, and D, when they are all done, we basically go into the administrative phase. So you have to go through the attack, all the attacks that you have on the table, all the moves that you have on the table, all the regroups and retreats. Once this is done, you go into this kind of cleanup administrative phase.
Nice. Okay.
And at the beginning of the round, you draw more cards.
The hand size right now is written as the 3 cards, so it looks like at the end of the I wanted to add the flexibility to the players' arsenal. We always can discard 1 card from our hand. If Hisi, for example, isn't satisfied with his options that he has right now, and maybe he is, that's all right. He can simply try to go fish and discard one of the cards that he is not happy about in hopes that he will get better one.
Yeah. And keep in mind that the deck size is also used as a game timer.
Oh, so you remain with the 3 cards you have from the beginning of the game,
and you are using them up or discarding them and drawing a new ones, but there are right now the game is structured around 36 cards. Out of those 36, 6 will be dealt in the first turn to the players, so you have 30 cards in the draw deck. Once the last card is drawn, the soldiers are officially tired and the battle ends.
Okay. And what denotes the end of the game prior to the cards running out?
Well, so this is one of those things that you have caught me, so early in the development. Right now, it's really just the victory, the losses, the loss thresholds. If you lose a certain arbitrary number of units, they run away off the map, or maybe they are eliminated by losing steps, because this is what can happen in the extreme cases. Then you basically, if you lose 5 hoplites, let's say, you lose the game, and you do not need to lose every single unit on the map that is yours.
Okay. You could also have objective cards for that, that you draw in the beginning of the game. Like, what's the objective for this battle? Like, we must gain a certain point of the map, or I don't know, just an idea.
So this is something. Once again, the people who are listening to me may be not familiar with Lost Battles by Philip Sabin, but he basically did something like this in his game. Some areas on the map are marked as the crucial objective areas for this or that side or for both sides,
Yep.
and if you control them all at the same time, well, congratulations, you did what your army wanted you to
Yes.
achieve.
Part
And
of what
keep
I
in
have.
mind, if you're doing terrain cards, like we talked about, you can put victory points on those terrain cards so if somebody controls
Yeah,
that bluff or that
yeah,
river
Yeah.
crossing or whatever. And then at the end of the game, you can just go who controls the most victory points or something, whatever makes sense.
I really like
it's
the counter what you just showed me. Like
mhm.
it's like capture the flag, or capture multiple flags if you have more than one point that you need to capture in order to win. You know,
That's the
I
that's
like
the
that
beauty of the digital
I like
thing.
that solution a lot because it's nice, it's simple. You don't
Yep.
need a whole lot of other stuff. You
Yeah,
just
So
markers and you know.
Yeah, I agree.
another question just to throw out, because again, I'm vaguely aware that this happened in history.
Mhm.
I don't know the ins and outs and the wherefores and the how tos and the why nots.
hmm
But when they actually went to battle, was was terrain really an effect? Because didn't normally the battles take place in essentially large plains where,
Open fields.
yeah, it's like a football game or a or a cricket match. You're on flat land and there's probably not a whole lot of difference. No one's really gaining or losing
Well, I think that there was an
advantages.
example of an ancient version of Dunkirk, where one of the ancient armies trapped another one up against a beach and they couldn't retreat.
yeah.
Right, but there's no real effect other than not being able to retreat. The terrain itself is not causing a difficulty in movement or a difficulty in combat, other than I can't get away from these assholes.
Well, it's sand, so that might, because who likes sand in their sandals? I mean,
But see, the
nobody.
thing is, but there's one is not gaining an advantage over the other because they're both dealing with the same terrain. See what I
So
I,
mean?
I
so
agree
once
with
again,
Go ahead.
I want to nerd out on ancient history a little bit here,
Go ahead.
because there is no easy answer to your question, Chris. The terrain did play a role, but it is true that the most famous battles, many famous battles, were fought, on the plain, even terrain. For the reason that for the armies of the time, massed line formations, it was difficult to keep control and use the soldiers effectively on uneven terrain. At the same time, hoplites were not fighting only on plains. If you look up at the Greece landscape, you will see that they fought in various conditions. And some hoplites went into the mountainous Balkans and they were fighting there. Xenophon, in his March of 10,000, he's capturing hill after hill after hill from the hands of barbarous tribesmen with his hoplites. And somehow he's doing this, even though we like to think that hoplites need even flat terrain, and no, in during Peloponnesian War, hoplites descend from the galleys onto the beaches and then they duke it out on the beaches. How? Why? So there is the difficulty is in gauging how this terrain affects the game. So, for example, probably no one, hoplites would not voluntarily go into the forest, to fight a battle there if they can avoid it. But the Greek army can fix their flank on the impassable terrain that is effectively a river or the forest, and there are enough mentions and narratives of the battles fought where one army defends a hill and another army needs to attack the hill.
Yeah.
So there are ways to involve the terrain, and I want, because the time is coming shorter and shorter, I want to spice up with something. Ancient history can be spicy. So in Hellenistic, the successors of Alexander the Great fought, for example, in the Syria theater, or in, let's call it, Middle East. And have you ever heard that sometimes you encounter the salty plains, and those soldiers were fighting without any undergarments in those skirts, effectively, and because of the
So they were literally going commando.
Because of continuous tussle, this salt in the soil got into the air and made them they weren't able to fight effectively anymore because of the salt in the air.
Salty nuts. Yeah.
Yes.
They'll ruin it all the time.
Especially when you are sweating too, right? So terrain does matter, but it is.
Such a kid. I'm sorry, Ryszard.
There is a reason why I used this anecdote about the salty bits. The terrain does matter. It's just a question for a designer how they want to, incorporate this. Because just like Mike has mentioned earlier, you can use terrain cards here. You can have rivers, streams, hills, all that kind of stuff, coastlines, right? It's doable.
Go ahead, Eric.
Is it necessary?
Not necessarily. Once again, because Hisi went with the theme, and if I want to go with this dance floor of the God of War, the quote was specifically about the plain, and this could be an excuse to just have a flat, featureless plain. It makes game simple. All those interactions with the combat and the movement, stacking limits within the area, they simply can be waved away because it's a featureless plane.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the system, if it works, it would be relatively easy to put in those additional modifiers, additional rules.
Absolutely. With what you've shown us thus far, it's a very interesting, mechanically speaking, game, and the theme as well. The theme's very evocative, at least to me. And I'd like it that it's more streamlined this way. Without there are so many bits and pieces, just like you're saying, that it can be added. But is it really necessary to get the highlights of this game that you want to give it to people? I don't know if that makes sense. Is it really necessary to add a bunch of things around it that's not really the point you're trying to convey?
Or we could probably. So what you're trying to say is, does this game need Chrome?
Well,
do I need elephants? Do I need war elephants in my game, for example? I don't.
Yes.
Oh, you do. Yeah. Yes, you do.
That's the expansion. You're always going to be thinking about, here's the game. Okay, great. That got me 2,000 downloads or 2,000 sales or whatever. Okay, what's next?
Yeah.
You build on it. You do the War Elephant expansion. Okay, what's next? You do the amphibious
Persians.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw something out there along what Chris is saying. the concept of noise on a battlefield using these types of units, to me, seems black powder fits into this as well. Napoleonic, American Civil War. Maybe not to, could you do it with World War One and World War Two and modern? Yes, because noise always could come into play, but it becomes more, I think, tactical as we get into more of the future stuff. Right here, we're talking mass battles, mass units, and I could totally see a Napoleonic version. And everything up to American Civil War, and then around that, late 1800s, using this system.
Yep.
Where the terrain does come into play a little more, but maybe in this core version of the game. And again, I'm thinking with a marketing hat, and Chris kind of is seeding that with you get this out there, you got your core game. What's next? What is it? Adding elephants? Is it now going into Napoleonics? And now you've got all sorts of different units with their own uniqueness to them.
This is going to be slightly going off tangent right now, but the grid-based thing allows me, just like once again, Lost Battles can be played with counters. This could be played with miniatures just as well.
Yes,
you
I was just gonna say that.
And as long as you can grid your table space, bring in those pewter miniatures if you want to, and just go at it.
Yeah. But another thing I'm looking at is, in my day job, I work with a number of Indians from India, and they have a long history that definitely spans back into the ancients, and I'm sure there are many battles that could be represented using those forces as well.
Sure.
To talk about the ancient battles in India up through, probably the 1800s as well. So just looking at this across the board, I don't think ancients needs to be limited to, Europe.
Greece? No, not at all. And
is Greece considered Europe?
Yes. Let's call it Europe. Let's call it Europe. Yes. Okay. In any case, you're absolutely right. The beauty of this abstract approach is that they do not have to be hoplites. They do not have to be Greeks. If we are not worried about what exactly the counter represents, they can be Gauls, they can be Germans, they can be Moors, they can be Crusaders, they can be you name it, you can play it, right?
Yeah, and I really like the fact that it's a small scale grand battle kind of thing, right? It's like you're dealing with. I can envision in my mind's eye, in my head canon, that.
I try to keep it simple. Zombies make me think of rules for artificial intelligence, or very artificial intelligence.
But what I'm getting at is, because of the size is kind of abstract, I'm not looking at that going, oh, that's not 10,000 troops. My mind can tell me that it fits my narrative, right, of what these units are. I like that.
And this is why
I think that's what Eric is pointing out a couple of times, is keep it simple.
Yeah, this is why I went with the grid-based system, because then the numbers, they do not matter that much. It's really just arbitrary kind of hand waving. I give you the flavor, but we do not have to worry that, I don't know, the biggest maneuverable unit of hoplites or Macedonian phalangites, 1,500 men, for example.
Yeah, I know.
So, and once again, it's not. The game right now is not necessarily about the historical battles. It should be possible to try to start players with the historical armies, contingents, and in historical positions. But once again, because the scale is so arbitrary, it will never be, solid or very, very detailed. And this is the beauty of the grid-based system. It doesn't have to be a game about a single battle. You can play tens of battles.
Yeah, no, I'm totally digging it.
I like that. It's
No, I think you've got something here. I really do. I like the idea of the noise. I think it makes sense the way you've done it. And it's not just the noise. You've got, even if you took that out, you've got a solid game here. The noise just adds to the whole narrative of what you wanted to get across, which is how do I get my command
Yeah.
heard and understood.
I really like that idea. And it does make the game even more unique. I really like the battle line that you came up with, and how that works, and that when you give orders, the units will follow those orders up until it changes at some point. It's very interesting to me because there is a chess like thing with the grid, especially. I don't know. It's evoking chess in my head. You make a move, then I have to plan ahead 2 or 3 moves before because I know maybe I want to intersect different units at some point on the grid there. Obviously, if I roll dice correctly, if and things work out, and then if it doesn't, it's just the chaos of battle.
Yeah, I love the chaos of battle. I mean, in this turn, I sent all the units on an attack command.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the value of maybe keeping one unit back.
Yep.
Where there's less noise, where I, as the commander, can see the battle at a grand scale and then go, I want you to move over here and then attack. Where if I've already committed him, it's much harder to pull him out of combat with all the noise and redeploy them. In other games, you can just move your units around without that.
Okay, so a quick question.
Yeah.
Again, coming in halfway through.
Don't worry about it.
Does the increased noise cause it to be more difficult to issue an order to a unit in an area that's got more noise?
Yes.
Yes. And the way that it functions right now, if there is no volume at all, no black marker at all, changing order happens automatically, no problem. But if there is anything and you want to add more, if you want to change the order, you roll a die, and the higher the level of the volume, the smaller threshold.
Okay. Yeah, I like that because you now something, and again, doesn't have to be in the base game, but something to think about is having a cadre of runners back with your guy, and really what it is, you can abstract it out as, okay, let's say, can you all see my hand here?
Yep.
Okay, so let's say you actually have in this square here, you've got maybe 3 markers because that's where the center of the battle is happening. That's the center of the line. That's where the big push is happening. And let's say you got 3 noise markers there. You've got a leader back here, and he sees that if he just he needs to make one adjustment or change something. Maybe he sees that there's a weakening of the line next to it, so he wants to send this unit over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, with a 3 there, it's going to be more difficult than, say, if it was a 2. So what he does is he'll send a runner to make that command, and for that one turn, what he does is all the runner is a reduction of noise for that one turn to be able to make it an easier roll.
Let me modify that just a little, Chris, because I think you're onto something. As opposed to a modifier to the noise, that runner is in a card you play from your hand that allows you to just ignore the noise for that unit and rotate.
And I will.
Give them whatever command you want to give them, if it's a move or whatever the case may be.
One of the
Well, the reason I like still having the noise there is because what that does is that abstracts the amount of time it takes the runner to get there, whether the runner actually gets there.
Oh no, yeah, keep the noise. What I'm saying is, so the noise affects the whole area. The runner is going to go to a specific unit.
Right, but you're still rolling for that one unit. Because that's extracting everything else that's going on around it. He might not get there.
Good point.
He might. That's what that roll does. That roll says, and he passes, he got there. The roll doesn't pass.
And maybe he gets there with a -1 or something on the roll to make it slightly easier, because this is a level 4 noise, and maybe it's you roll at a level 3 noise.
Yeah, that's why you're sending him, is to
okay.
And you're not going to just, again, it goes back to my concept of a war game has to have friction other than your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
This continues that friction, because if I can just play that card and make that one unit do whatever I want it to do when I play that card,
the question then becomes: do you have this card or not? But this is not exactly that level of friction that you are, I think.
Yeah,
right.
No, I think your point is valid, Ryszard, but I think I see where Jay's going with this, or not Jay, sorry, and that is keeping that the effect of noise, because it's the theme, it's an underwriting theme of the game, to keep that in place. And you still have this, just because you sent a runner out is not a guarantee that they're going to make it there.
Exactly.
And say the right thing to the right person.
Right. He could have gone to the entirely wrong unit. He could have been shot by an arrow. He could have been mauled by dogs. Who knows?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
or if it was Reese, he could have been attacked by a bull.
Or a flock of turkeys. But that die roll, it abstracts all of those possibilities.
Yeah.
You miss the die roll, he didn't make it for whatever reason. You make the die roll, he made it. He was able to convey the order. The order passes.
Or zombies, as
or zombies. Yeah, zombies could have got him.
Yeah, most likely it was the zombies.
Yeah.
Rick Grimes, baby.
Hey guys, not to ruin the party, but we're a little over almost 2 hours and 40 minutes in, and I know, Ryszard, you have a limit today to some degree. Something about lunch or eating or a better
lunch would be nice. Yes.
Yeah. But I totally enjoyed this afternoon. This is what playtesting is about. I'm glad we're able to do it online and get some valuable feedback. Hopefully you take something positive away from this.
Well, the good news is that the contact with other people means that I'm exposed to different takes on my concepts, right? And just like Mike or not Jay, I mean, I took some notes. So I just didn't think of using terrain cards, for example. I didn't.
No, hey, this is why we do this, because you don't design. You don't have to design in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got a community we're building, and even if it's just us bantering this stuff back and forth, our in-game, literally in-game, is going to be a better game for it.
Indeed.
So I've talked about this show being sporadic because I wasn't sure what form it will take, but I think we may have enough to talk about to do this on a weekly basis, and we can talk about when that's going to be, because it's obviously going to be more dependent on schedules and things like that. And I don't have a problem bringing this game back to talk about and play test even more. As well as other people's games. So obviously, I want to continue doing this, and let's try and see how it works on a weekly basis, but not be married to it if for some reason we can't all get together on a Saturday
I will send you, gentlemen. I will write on this on Discord because next weekend is basically the Independence Day kind of weekend, and my family has plans about this. This
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why I wanted to work on this design before 5th of July,
Uh-huh.
because I am actually leaving my desktop behind and I am moving out of Fresno for a few days. So I will try to update the module before
Okay.
then, but next weekend may be impossible for me. We let's stay in touch and
Well,
basically
I'm going to get the rules for Richthofen, and I want to throw Richthofen up next weekend and get some
fair enough.
feedback from Richthofen.
Let's do it.
So, and then I'm sure at some point Eric and Vigilant, and then Chris and I have to. We're going to have a lot of playtesting that we can do, and it doesn't mean we can't also go back and revisit some of the games from the game jam.
Yeah,
And,
it really relies only on our availability. And honestly, so far, I will say that Saturday is a nice day because it's a kind of free day.
yeah, me too. But I know that the war room is probably going on right now, and I like to check in with those guys. So we'll work it. We'll play it by ear, but tentatively, and we can cover this in Discord. But I'm thinking maybe we look at an 11 o'clock in the morning PST time and try that. And if we need to adjust, like if Eric or whoever. Because I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get their games play tested to this level. I find it gives me a good understanding of the mechanics. I'm already thinking about stealing some of this stuff, quite honestly.
Feel free. What is in this game? The chart is from Epic of the Peloponnesian War. Lost Battles of Philip Sabin was mentioned more than once. So it's not, it has elements from many games.
I'm going to say this. I think that the noise. Now. Again, I've only been back in the gaming for the last 2 years. I don't know of any game that uses noise to this tactical level, strategic level. And I think that is going to be something, if you decide that you want to market this and try to get this published, that like Mike said, he wants to play this.
Yeah.
He's asking questions, what are the counter sizes? Because I can see you taking this to a GMT or somebody like that and have something very unique. And when you have so many games in the market, and it's great. I love the fact that there's a lot of games out there, but anything that helps you stick out a little bit and gets you noticed is a positive thing. And I think that this game has got that.
Because we are making a recording, let me finish with a pun. To toot my own horn, right?
Nice.
It just needed to be said.
Hey, I couldn't say it. You had to. Anyway.
But this is one of the reasons for the title, yes.
Yes. No, I love it. I love it. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for this week. We can talk in Discord. I definitely want to. Now, this is available if somebody wants to go in and subscribe. Go on to Steam. Thank you. And subscribe to this so you can go in and fiddle around with it. And if you're not on Discord, I will put a link in the video description to our Discord. You can jump in there, ask questions directly. And Ryszard is all over it, man. I don't know if he sleeps. And you need to, because that little one is going to make sure you don't.
This is why I'm trying to do all those things before the little one will come into the picture.
Yeah, but there's going to be times, even with the little one, where you're going to sneak in. You're going to need some love from us, just to kind of prop you up, and we'll be here for you when that happens. My friend.
We'll be here.
Thank you for the conversation and your time, gentlemen, just as well. Because
Anytime, brother.
I can design this by myself, but it's just once again being told about all those ideas that I didn't think about, even though I know games about terrain cards, I know games about runners in the command and control system, but yeah, it can be done. I just didn't think about it on my own.
Yeah, and you will. I'm sure by this time next week, this is going to have a different feel to it, all in a positive way.
There will be some changes, yes,
Yeah.
happening. Thank you.
Alrighty, guys. Again, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for watching and the comments that we're here today. Looking forward to doing more of this, and we'll catch you on the next one.